5 years. She pulled the plastic cover over her computer, waved goodbye to her colleagues, and left the office. Instead of going directly home, she caught a bus and took the short ride to the harbour. There, she moved away from the mad bustle of the ferry port. She stood at the quay edge, looking down at the slow, oil-slicked sea. Not perfect, but it would do. 5 years. From her handbag, she took a small white paper bag. She emptied the contents into her right open palm. Sweet, sugar-coated almonds and dried pomegranate seeds. Enough. A fitting gift for the gods. A gift to the dead. 5 years. She turned and walked away. The ritual finished for another year. Tuck it away. Forget. And pray she was forgotten. On the way to the bus stop, she realized that tonight, of all nights, she did not want to be alone. There was a waterfront taverna, busy and loud, large enough to lose herself, not large enough to get lost. She entered and found an empty table. She sat back, sipped her drink, and refused to think of home. But the rough, resonated wine cut through her defense. For a few moments she was that daring 15-year-old again. The island was not big enough to hold her. So many dreams back then. And then the ferry, and all too quickly the descent into hell. She was about to leave, to turn her back on self-pity. But she paused as a lone, scruffy man with a battered guitar sat on a cleared piece of ground. The last thing she needed was some bum murdering an old folk song. And then the voice, destroyed by booze and cigarettes, lives and loves. And yet the two, shattered and dissonant, fitted together. He sang and played, not songs, but lives and loves and hope. But she could remember no words, no tune. He stopped and smiled at her. Embarrassed, she looked around and saw she was alone. Sometime through the evening, the other patrons had left. They stared at each other in silence until the owner broke the spell. He placed another chilled bottle before her, and a bottle of single-star Metaxa and a glass before the singer. That was beautiful. You think so? Nikos claims I'm only good for driving the customers away. She smiled. My name is... He held up his hand, stopping her. No. No names. I've sung you my life, and so you know me. Now, if you would be so kind, I'd like your story. That was your story. A part, and some others. Now, no more from me. Tell me your life, or if not, walk away and forget me. And so she began. The ferry to Athens, and the terrifying realization that she was alone, the trying for work as her savings melted through her fingers, the honey traps she avoided, though with no idea why she must, until no money, no hope, until the kindly man who helped her into the arms of Morpheus. And when she woke, she was with a stranger who never spoke, but smiled as he threw money onto the bed and left. She stopped and looked at her watch. I must go. I'll get a taxi. I'm sorry. No taxis at this time, said the singer. I will walk you home. No, she shouted. No. I don't do that anymore. Good, the singer said. So few escape. As we walk, tell me about it. But once outside, they walked in near silence, the outside world pressing in and stopping her words. You're cold, he said, and she was. He took off his worn sailor's peacoat and draped it over her shoulders, and the two of them walked in separate worlds for the near hour it took to reach her home. She stopped outside an apartment block. Then I shall leave you and hope for the rest of the story another night. And he turned to walk away. Wait, she said. I can trust you. I hope so. It's silly. I have learned to sleep again, but not tonight. Come up, and I will finish my story. He followed her up the narrow, half-lit stairs to the 4th floor, into the almost empty flat. She turned on an electric fire and sank into a battered sofa, only then finding she still had his coat. She got up, folded it, and placed it beside her. Meanwhile, he laid his guitar across the small table and pulled out one of the 2 dining chairs. He sat and faced her, waiting. There were 8 of them in the house. All had been given stupid names by the man who liked to be called Duke. She, Baby, was for the customers. No one wants to find himself doing things to someone with the same name as his wife, sister, or mother. She never found out the others' names. She tried asking, but soon learned that there were punishments. And they were terrible. And then one day, after a customer had left and she sat crying on the edge of her bed, the door opened and it was not Duke. Sandy and Candy came into her narrow room and passed her a leather object. It was Duke's wallet. He's dead. OD'd. Take it and go. She protested, saying they could all escape, share the money, and Sandy pulled up her sleeve and showed her naked arm and dead and bloody field of track marks. Candy mirrored her. We're trapped. Take it and go. Now. She dressed, took the wallet, and left. In a department store, she bought new, quieter clothes, changing into them in the store, then threw her old clothes into a dumpster. She went to a hairdresser and had her hair cut short, and the cheap blonde dye that Duke had insisted on toned back to her real colour. There was more money in the wallet than she had ever seen, but she used it slowly. A new, cheap flat where she still lived, night courses in typing and computer skills. She found an old Olympic typewriter in a second-hand shop and practiced every day. That was life. Sleep, type, lessons, sleep. The only punctuation being the brief pauses to eat. And on the anniversary of her first year, she went to the Quiet Key to mark her passing. 2 months later, she got a job in a bank and started another new chapter. A new name, new age, new past. She was still there and doing well. Promotion was on the cards, and she was looking for a transfer home. In 2 months, I'll be back on Rhodes, and the past will never have happened. And the girls? He asked. Candy, Sandy, and 2 others were dead from overdose. One was in jail. The others vanished. Gone, like snow on the water. As I said, my past wiped. She continued with her story, filling in gaps, hinting at so much more. But her voice was getting slower. There was no exact moment when she drifted into sleep. He got up, unfolded his peacoat, and put it over her. Careful not to wake her, he left the room, the building, and was near leaving the street. What woke her she did not know, but she saw he was gone and she was alone. She ran to the window and saw him below, crossing the road. She ran from the room, down the stairs and to the front door. "Singer!" she shouted. He heard a voice, looked back, and saw her waving, his coat in her hand. But too late, too late. The car was not speeding, but the driver was not prepared when she rushed out into the road. The singer watched her cartwheel and spin, as if her whole body were waving to him. He began to run towards her. He did not notice the scream of brakes, but did hear the shattering sound as her head struck the road. The singer looked down. Beside him lay his coat, thrown clear. He lifted it and held it to his face. A faint ghost of her essence filled him. He stayed still, moved no closer. During her funeral, he sat outside the church, but made no attempt to enter. Not until dark did he walk to the grave. There was a simple, temporary wooden cross with her name written in wax crayon. Only her forename. The rest would come later. Eurydice. As he walked away, he said, "Never look back." But he knew that that was hopeless. Orpheus would always look back, and so lose everything. That was his curse.